I don't know when the mayor's going to be joining us, but we'll just get started without him.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening from Omaha. I don't have a lot this evening, simply because we're just wrapping up the budget. And so I was just going to roll through some of the changes that have been made as we've had our discussions. So if we go to the fourth slide, some of these, I don't know that you've actually decided whether you want to do them, like this first one, which is increasing the Colorado River Economic Development Partnership. We had $7,500 in the budget originally. They had requested $10,000. We have adjusted the budget to include that, but it's entirely up to the board whether you leave that in. As I think we mentioned in the police department, we had an error in the budget. It was missing the full contract amounts for the Axon body cameras, the dash cameras, and then the report writing software license that we're utilizing. And that line item had to increase to $98,000. I think originally, and Amy, you can correct me, it was 58,000 or in that range in the original budget that we had presented. We did a couple meetings ago discuss the shift of the police department's schedule that would allow us to accomplish 24/7 coverage for the town, which would increase compensation by about $50,000 with an additional approximate $6,750 for retirement costs that we've added to the budget. This would start January 1. They would have a 12-hour schedule. They would work 3 on, 3 off, then 4 on, 4 off. So it works out that they add over a regular work schedule about 100 hours. So that's why you see the increase in terms of the compensation. If we go to the next slide, Joe has withdrawn, or Director Lundin has withdrawn his request for a 40-foot platform lift or a bucket truck. At this point, might be something that we look at in the future, but at this point, felt that it was more important to increase the fleet with 2 vehicles for our new hire, as well as replace an existing vehicle. And it's anticipated that we'll end up purchasing used vehicles as opposed to buying new. Some additional police department requests were suggested to be put into the Vail budget. It would be require a formal request to the Vail board for them to approve the expenditures for the tactical vests, the mag pouches, the patches, the tactical shield, and then the Septico statement analysis license. And then we added the traffic message speed indicator trailer to the capital improvement fund. So it's going into 2 different locations. In Parks and Recreation, no, we're not buying a field stripping robot. It's a field striping robot. Your town manager doesn't know how to spell. It's a $47,000 piece of equipment. We have obtained a grant that would bring the cost down to $25,000, and we would use some of the tobacco funds that we anticipate receiving next year. This would allow Director Centeno to basically have the fields striped without much public works interaction. Once it's set up, the machine goes out and stripes the fields on its own. theoretically, you could have it leave the public works shop and go stripe whatever needs to be striped. But I'm not sure we want that thing running down the road or somebody to run over it. So it would still require some public works interaction, but I think we're gonna not necessarily have it completely autonomous.
What's the expected savings on that, Jim?
It's Director Lundin. How many days are we striping fields?
We stripe the fields once a week through soccer season, and
Okay.
it usually takes probably a good 3 hours for 2 guys to get them striped. And so you'd be saving.
So
guys to do something different.
you're talking about just in personnel costs. Two personnel once a week for 3 hours is going to be about $300 a week. That we're going to eliminate the majority of that cost. I know Director Centennial has also done a little dreaming that she might be able to lease it out to other park and recreation departments, simply because we're doing it once a week. We can always do it more than that.
So it pays for itself somewhere between 2 and 3 years
Yeah,
in
Yes.
terms of
Seems like it.
workforce time saving.
right.
Yes.
And it's
And
not
then, yeah.
just for field striping, it can also be used for painting parking lines. And so once the data is input into the actual robot itself, into the software, you can push a button and it'll stripe, just like we annually have to stripe the lines in front of town hall. The robot can do all that too.
And to my understanding, it is also sophisticated enough to logo a field or paint a flag on a field or any number of additional.
Put our new logo in the middle of all our soccer fields.
Yep.
You could do something on Main Street with it, for your events. For the 250th anniversary, you could paint a flag on the middle of 7th and Main Street or something.
I mean, knowing that the ROI is 2 to 3 years, even on a minimal use case, it makes a lot more economic sense to me to just invest in it. Do we have any idea what the intended lifespan of this would be?
So I was gonna ask.
Are we going to get 5 years, 10 years?
From what he was telling me, they're expected 10 to 15 years
Okay.
with minimal maintenance. After that, he said there may be some increased maintenance, but you shouldn't have to replace the machine. It's more of a software update that takes place.
Do we get the subscription to the software inclusive in this $47,000 cost, or is that an annual subscription that will be an additional expense?
No, he said once you own the robot, then the system software comes with it.
How long do the batteries last in it?
That I did not ask. I know that we'd have to plug it in to keep it charged. Well, actually, no, he did tell me. He said you can stripe fields or paint lines for 6 hours.
Oh, okay. And how many years before we have to buy new batteries?
I have no idea.
Less than 10.
Well, yeah.
Right. Just the nature of batteries is, but if the machine is going to make it 10 to 15 and it pays for itself in 2 to 3,
I mean, I'd rather not loan it out or rent it out myself, just because it's so expensive, and then you're paying people to haul it around. And
maybe it's like 700 AAA batteries, just row after row of them in the top of the robot.
And we have right now, we don't line the fields for the soccer club or for CRB. But we could offer that as something that we could push a button and could have it lined, and then they would pay us a fee without actually having to lend it out.
oh, okay, yeah, no, I'd be fine with that. I was thinking it would leave town, but if it stays here for those guys, then yeah, I'm fine
I would
with
think
that.
our people go with it because we have the software. We would need to program it to do their field
Yeah.
based on any number of criteria. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I don't necessarily want to loan it out and
It'd
let
be
someone pick it
we would
up.
stripe fields for a fee if we did anything.
Right. but it's our people,
Yeah.
our equipment, and you pay, you get both. So it still would be Public Works hours, but at least there'd be some compensation for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see us having some sort of agreement in the future with the district to create some sort of field lining arrangement with them, because I know that they're always asking if we have anybody to paint fields at the high school and middle school.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to turn into what we're saving in money and manpower going toward going to the high school or Newcastle or somewhere else, because then we're not necessarily saving anything.
Joe's budget next year has an FTE for line painting.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'd be a Parks and Rec person.
Good point. No, it makes sense if it's going to pay for itself that quickly.
Yep.
If we can get those additional use cases, and even at the low end of the projected lifespan, it seems like a reasonable cost to incur now due to the long-term savings.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the last item that was included in terms of the modifications was to modify the retirement contribution and employee matches. Eligibility for 0 to 4 years, it would be this current 7%. 5 to 9, it would be 8% contribution. 10 to 14, 10% contribution, and after 15 years, the 12% contribution. The impact in the overall budget in all funds would be about $27,000 in 2026.
Jim, if you project that out over 5 years, do you have any kind of modeling?
I have not modeled it. The vast majority of the town's employees currently are under 10 years. If I remember correctly, there are only 3 employees that are 15 plus currently in our organization. But we have a number that are in that 7, 8 area, so they'll move up a little bit in the coming years, and then you're taking that 27,000 as if it's the base. Any COLA increase or merit increase will also then increase that contribution amount.
Right. So it's going to go up at least 3 to 5, not including people going up from steps within
Correct.
the 4 that are here. So over 5 years, the annual average would probably be somewhere between 7 and 8% between people moving COLA, merit-based pay increases. I would estimate somewhere between 7 and 8%. Jim, does that seem like a reasonable throw of the dart?
It's probably on the high end. And if you would like, we can model additional. When I ran some numbers, I modeled out for 3 years, and when I modeled it out after the 3 years, the initial year's impact was this roughly 30,000. Next year, I believe the model, if I recall correctly, was about $3,000. The year after that was higher because a bunch of people moved the steps, and it was about $10,000. But that's as far as I had done anything in terms of the model.
And if we break it down per employee, it's not that much money to keep the people that we have,
Yep.
which is cheaper than finding new people,
Exactly.
right?
Correct.
How does this compare to other towns?
Well, this model was based off another community on the Front Range.
So it's not like something that's outrageously high when compared to other places.
No.
So that's
No, and Eagle, I think, does 16%.
because I want to just be like, yes, but I mean, if it was much higher than the norm, or I guess depends on if the norm is lousy, but just considering, I think it sounds fine.
And to give you information, next year for 27, we will have 8 people still in the 0 to 4 range, 12 people in the 5 to 9, and 4 people in the 15 and over. No one in the, oh no, Jim will be in the 10 to 14 still.
I feel like it's good, it encourages people to want to stay, right?
It's an investment in the people that actually do the work of the town, and it's approximately $1,000 per person as an annual expense. It's not a big chunk of the budget.
Like, we appreciate them this amount of years, so I think it makes a ton of sense. I think
I agree.
it's a good idea.
And based on prior discussion, if I understood correctly, or interpreted correctly, the board's intention was that to get the additional contribution, you had to match it. That it was a required match and that you couldn't stay at 7%. And so that it's not only the town investing in the employee is investing in themselves, their retirement as well.
Exactly.
Yep. I think, didn't you bring that up last meeting, Chris? Was it you that brought that up?
No, I thought
Yeah, I was just gonna see, do we get clarification on if they have to match?
The way it is set up now, they do. If we don't want them to have to match, it would have to go into their 457.
Okay.
I like the idea of the match, the
I like the
required
idea of
match,
it. Yeah.
align incentives.
Align incentives, and I mean, we all want to retire someday, so it can help that employee get there potentially, or somewhat there.
Wait, people still retire?
I'm not, but someone might.
Your kids are just gonna take care of you. when you get
Hopefully. They better.
Was there anything on any of the initial pages that we wanted to discuss? The Colorado River Valley Economic Development Partnership, police stuff?
the RAFTA thing, are we still
I was
doing
gonna
40,000 for
Can I
that?
bring that up because,
The EDP or
well,
RAFTA?
just RAFTA. I hope that we contribute to that line item. I mean, I think that it's received some scrutiny, whether or not we can contribute to that. But we contribute to recreation and all kinds of things that I want to support all of that. But I think as a priority, a disabled person getting to their medical appointment needs to be at the top of our list as basic services that we provide to our community. So that's a big deal to me. I think that it's important that I want that to receive that kind of consideration. And then since I'm talking, the other one I was going to mention was Garfield Clean Energy, because I do feel like they create value and they help people reduce their utility bills by a lot. And I think we're set to give them $3,800, and it's been increasing by like 100 each year. And that's nice. I mean, it's kind of just slow and steady and sustainable, but I thought maybe 4,000 would be nice.
And our residents are saving more than it's costing us to contribute to the program, if I remember the math.
I think we've gotten back more than we've contributed by quite a bit already. So
That's money well spent. That's the definition of money well spent,
It's
right?
it's
If
a
they're
total
benefiting
difference.
financially by our contribution and they're paying taxes into the town,
It was like $70,000 for the school district in 1 year or something that they saved from just helping them rearrange how they do things. And the way they track the data and everything is, I think they're really doing something important. So I wanted to throw that out there. And I think with the RAFTA thing too, we've just had a lot of citizens come and plead with us for that service. So I just want to advocate for that while I'm talking, and then that's it. Thank you.
I'm fine with the $4,000, but I feel 40,000 is a bit steep for RAFTA.
I
And
think we
yes,
should
the
do more.
majority of the people here, a lot of them were having issues just getting across the interstate, and that's kind of separate. I think a separate issue than RAFTA down here. And yes, RAFTA needs more stops and everything, but 40,000, I mean, that's taxpayers' money. And, you know, if the citizens haven't necessarily voted to be a member of RAFTA to pay taxes, I don't necessarily know if it's fair to spend their money for RAFTA.
I mean, but we can spend the money on a platform lift or a striping robot, and not to take away from any of the
Yeah.
Pee Wee Sports, free concerts. I mean, these are.
Yes,
This is fun stuff. This is whipped
yes.
cream kind of stuff versus like someone.
Yes, I
RAFTA
understand.
could help facilitate people getting across the interstate. I mean, they don't even. I think we need to contribute more before we're going to get the kind of value. I
Yeah.
don't think $40,000 is nearly enough compared to what we should be providing. I think Silt is way behind the game with our transportation services as a town. I think we're performing poorly as a town when it comes to providing that
Yes,
service.
no,
for our
I agree, but put it to the citizens to vote if we want to be a member of RAFTA, because we evidently, it appears we have enough support for people to vote yes on the thing.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
I
some
kind of
things-
feel let's put it toward the citizens and the voters, because yes, like, you know, like what all the examples you said, yeah, but that's, you know, we're spending that money on the citizens here in town.
Same with RAFTA.
We are, but you know, a lot of the issue is RAFTA. We're spending our money instead of on the town for town improvements for people to get to, you know, like Aspen, for example. So
people
why
need to be
can't
able to get to work.
Aspen? Well, I'm just saying, why can't
There are
Aspen?
people that rely on the
Well,
services
my
to get
my
to work
point
and
is,
stuff.
how come the Upper Valley communities, you never see them saying, "Oh yeah, well we'll spend money to get these workers to our town." You never see that. It's always we're
Aspen and
doing it.
Snowmass, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot, and those towns are doing a lot more than we are. They really are. If
The thing
you
of it
look-
is, the 40,000 still isn't gonna get the people across the river.
Yeah,
Well,
I
They
mean,
could spend 100,000, they're still not,
That's a
we
separate.
didn't answer one question of all them people across the river.
I think it's
So it
about
doesn't do
joining
one
the
bit of good.
collective. I think it would, because we would be joining the collective. It's a show of a commitment toward that entity that has the ability to add more bus stops and add more routes, like no problem, you know, and it wouldn't be.
If I knew RAFTA was gonna add a stop across the river, I'd have no quarrels, but I bet we can give them 100,000, they're not gonna add a stop.
Well, we would have to be a member of RAFTA, I think, for them
At
to
that-
add an additional
Yeah,
stop.
but even then, I don't think they're gonna do another stop. I doubt they'll stop there.
And I agree, some things need a vote. I don't think all things need a vote.
No,
I
but
think
if
a
we
lot
want
of
to be
these
a
are-
member of RAFTA, then
Right.
That really does.
But,
Yes,
you
that
know,
requires a
and,
vote.
and maybe that's what we need, but, I don't know, we have transportation problems, and I think that we can see that we can carve out areas in our budget for other things, and I think that this needs to be seen as a priority and a basic necessity that we provide for our citizens. It's one opinion, everyone gets their opinion, that's mine.
no, that's, yeah.
So I'm good with putting the 40,000 in the budget. But I will not vote for it to go to RAFTA until they have shown up in this room. Because all we've heard since their funding got cut is somebody needs to pay us to make this service happen, not what can we do operationally to make this happen.
And the county's not willing to join RAFTA. You know, why not? Why not? Why should we join when they're not willing, you know?
Well,
So,
the county did restore
Partial funding.
some of their funding.
Did
I think
they?
it was 250,000 down from 550 or 540.
which was gonna be zero.
It was going to be zero.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, you know, contributing some.
But yes, it would, I agree with the mayor that it would be, it's important it would be nice for them to be able to show up in the room, come and talk to us. And then also, because we get some discussions about other options and things that we could do, other ways that they could help service the area. And again, where there's some things operationally that they could do to maybe make some of their things more efficient to be able to operate a little bit less of a cost
The cost, yeah.
and some different things.
Yeah, no, I agree with.
Trouble is,
the mayor.
RAFTA has been operating for years, they've never run it as a business. Did they need that $5 million barn?
No, they don't.
That's,
I mean, there you go, right there, then now they're whining there in the hole because they spent all that money on that bus barn that they don't need. That's where our frustration is you know, they want us to support them, but they did not, where they were was fine. They did not need a $5.5, $6 million new building.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really acknowledging the fact that that's kind of our only option. And that's
I mean,
why I'm
that's-
advocating for them. I mean,
That's where I want the conversation on, what are you guys gonna do operationally? I mean, I don't know how much they've spent when they bought the railroad corridor from Glenwood to Aspen. If Aspen is gonna be transportation and a bus service, then that's what they need to focus on.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other groups that could have bought the railroad corridor, and now
Yes.
they maintain it. Now they, you know, they need to focus on being transportation. Maybe if Pat's parachute area transportation, if they're focusing on transportation, maybe that's a better way. Maybe Newcastle down to Parachute needs to bond together and get everyone to Newcastle, and Rafta can take them for there. I want to put the money in the budget because there is a need. We have had many citizens come in here and talk about it, but we've got to make sure we're not wasting our money. And I see Rafta ending up like the detox center that we contributed money to. We gave them money, it went away, someone new's taking it over. It's just this big.
And I appreciate everything, all the points that you guys are raising, and I don't want to I think at a certain point we have to sort of bite the bullet and like play the game because our citizens need it that much. But as we work through these things, I absolutely agree. I think that we need to, you know, hold their feet to the fire, if you will, and make sure that things are fair.
Not being wasted.
Right,
That's-
because it's about like serving our citizens, right? So I just wanted to just flag it as an issue of importance. I appreciate the
I
discussion.
think it's been to the voters twice and voted down twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the whole area code.
I know, but I'm
Or
just
zip code
saying,
votes
it's,
on that, so it's also the county, so
Yeah.
we'll never be able to have a vote within SILT boundaries specifically for RAFTA, because it
No.
includes the county areas.
That's true. But, you know, like you said,
People in the
nobody from
county don't vote for
RAFTA,
it because why would they vote for it? They aren't gonna be using it.
Why are they gonna raise their taxes to pay for something they'll never use, yeah?
Exactly, but nobody from RAFTA came here to state their case. You know, I read that newspaper article where they went to Rifle, they talked to their city council, you know, nobody from RAFTA ever showed up here. So it's like, yeah.
Jim?
They've been working.
Say.
They've been working on getting a meeting scheduled with us to come before the Board of Trustees. They were supposed to be here this week, but I believe the executive director ended up having to go out of town, and so they've moved. I don't know if they've confirmed that they'll be here on December 8th, but I think that was our next shot.
Yeah.
They have not confirmed for this year. It'll be next year from what the last I heard from them.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, I'd rather see them in the room before we give them money, but. that's
But I
just me.
mean, if it's, so Jim, is there, like, is there a reason for the recommendation that we have for the amount that's in there? Like,
The dollar amount that I included in the budget was equal to what Rifle was contributing. I don't know if Rifle this year is increasing their contribution to RAFTA or not. I have a feeling they are. If you recall, I think the ridership on the Hogback line, Silt makes up about 18% of it. And it costs approximately $1 million to run the route on an annual basis. So Silt proper is generating about 18% of that cost, or should be contributing, I shouldn't say should or could be contributing somewhere around $180,000, and we would be covering our portion at that point.
That newspaper article said Rifle's contributing 80,000.
Yeah.
so you're saying we're giving them 40 something, but if we were actually paying for our share, it would be like 180? Is that, I'm just trying to make sure I understand you right.
That is correct.
And when you talk like Chris, you talked about having the upper valley, like the employers and stuff that aren't paying for it. They do to an extent, because a lot of those people do give their employees bus passes and things. Granted, the bus pass fee isn't what's paying the bills for the bus.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem, but at least they aren't, it's not like those areas, the employers that aren't, they just aren't contributing on a macro level. It's more on the micro to like help support their employees, but they're not paying for the service to be down here. They're just covering the employees' costs.
And that's true. And then that's what I said at a previous one. I'd be fine for giving the 40,000 toward bus passes, but
But unfortunately,
you know,
40,000
how
towards
much
bus
of it-
passes.
Yeah, how much of it goes toward admin or
Exactly, it doesn't,
you know.
it doesn't cover the costs of the bus, actually. The dollar, the two, like, I think normally on normal, this month is still free for the rest of November. But, 'cause they did October, November, they had a free month for ridership. Normally though, like from here to Glenwood, it's $2.50. $2.50 doesn't cover the cost of the bus, even if the bus was full for the routes.
Yeah.
And
No,
so that's
that's
not
true.
where they're making their money.
Yes. Yeah, but
It's
you read
unfortunately,
that.
like a lot of things
Yeah.
in government, everything becomes highly subsidized and reliant upon the subsidies versus being self-sustaining.
Yeah. And then, yeah, part of that article I read, Raft was like, yeah, last 5 years, we've made up the difference in it. So it's like, well, okay, if you guys have made up the difference between, the shortfall, it said the last 5 years they've made up that shortfall. It's like, well, if you guys can make up the shortfall, I mean, where's that money coming from? So it appears you guys have money to spend on it.
I wish they would work on a balanced budget, or at least try, right? Like,
Well,
I
that's what I'm
share,
saying. They
I
have-
share
they
a
have
lot of
never-
these concerns
As long as I've
as
known
well.
RAFTA, have never been, they've depended on subsidies and county money and government to help them. They have never run it as a business per se.
But it's because it's a public service, and
still,
it's
they-
a crucial public service, right?
Spent
for-
money on this and this. They bought all them electric buses and most of them aren't being used now because that was a bad idea. They're just spending money and not,
Yeah.
I agree that RAFTA is an imperfect at best system as it currently stands. I think I've gone to all the transportation committee meetings. I think there's another one coming up in early December that I'll go to. I think they're hearing it from a lot of sides all throughout the Colorado River Valley as well as the Roaring Fork Valley, that they have some serious reckoning they have to deal with to improve their service. It's not just a community of silt that has issues with it. But the fundamental question I come back to in my head and why I believe we need to support RAFTA is, what is Plan B? If not RAFTA, then what? Are we going to start a second bus service? Is it just going to serve silt?
It's not going
Is
to be
it-
cheaper than
like,
contributing to RAFTA.
If 40,000 doesn't even buy a van. So in terms of the value for the spend, $40,000 is an entry fee for all intents and purposes. It gets us in the room where these conversations are happening and decisions are being made. Right now, we have no impact on the outcomes because we're not in these rooms when these discussions are happening. This is our entrance fee, for lack of a better term. But we need to do something.
there's a lot of cities out there don't have no public transportation and they're getting by.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
So your solution then is no
I
transportation
didn't
to
say
the
that,
people
did
who
I?
come in?
Did I say that? No, I didn't. I
then
just said there's a
what
bunch of
is-
cities.
What is Plan B? If we agree that Plan A is not a viable solution to
They
give
need to hold,
RAFTA,
they need to watch their money is what Plan B is. Everybody's gonna give them money. They need to spend it wisely.
Well, Plan
And I
B
agree.
is an on-demand system. We join
Yeah,
forces
it's
with
just-
Parachute Rifle Newcastle.
Yep.
I
Robust
mean,
discussion.
there are.
but can't we influence that outcome, Jerry, if we're in the room while they're having those conversations? If we have a seat at the table right now, we're invisible.
Well, that's true. We are invisible. When we
Yeah.
give them 40 grand, is anything going to change? We're still going to be invisible, aren't we?
Well, we have a right to manage our money. We
Yeah.
get to go and say
Yeah.
I think we will have more control.
We have
I
more
think
input
it
than we
does
have
give
now.
us a seat at the table, and I know from, again, those commission meetings with the Transportation Commission, and I know from talking with folks from Rifle and other communities that all we want is a voice in the outcome and to start working on the solutions.
Yes.
It's not a one and done. It doesn't guarantee us everything we want or need over the next decade, but it gets us into the rooms where these conversations and these decisions are being made.
I got no quarrels putting the money in the budget, but like I say, I think if you listen to the people that were here discussing their problems, almost 80% of them was across the river, which is what we've got to deal with. If the Rafkin can come up with some idea of some way, because I bet most of these people in there they said they're over at the tiny homes, they're over there. That's what we need to deal with. If we're going to give them this money, because if we give them this money and they don't go over there, it's mute.
Well, we
have
also,
to get them,
especially if the
somehow to
Harris
get
test-
them
Yeah.
to stop over.
We've got a developer showing up later tonight with 198 more units
Yeah.
south of the highway.
No, that's true. I
That's-
guess I'm just saying this 40,000 only goes to keeping what's existing. It's not
Yeah.
changing anything.
We don't even know that. We could give them 40 grand and they say, sorry, we still can't run the route.
That's true. Then do we get our money back or we just SOL?
So that's why I want to have them in the room and have
Yeah.
that
Yep.
discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't, I mean, having it in the budget doesn't mean they get it. We can go the whole year and not give them a
Yeah.
penny.
Well,
We don't need to
You have a
We
point.
can
yeah.
allocate it without cutting
Don't
the
need
check.
to spend it, we can put it in there and have it there.
I'm fine with that. I just don't want us writing
yeah.
it off.
I'll agree with it, but
being somebody else's
begrudging,
problem.
whatever that word is,
Well, and
begrudgingly.
I just wanted to say,
Go with
I
it.
did hear the part about on the other side of the highway and people, needing to bridge that gap, which that is, I think it's a major concern and it's more and more all the time with the growth that's happening. And then the other issues that stood out to me, which we don't really, these are just things I heard from, people talking, so I don't know percentages, but like the kids, the youth who want to go to Rifle or go to another town and go to watch a game or something, they don't feel like they're able to do that. And then people who need to go to a medical appointment from here to a neighboring town, and then they're stuck there for like the entire day.
No, I agree with
And
you.
they're
100% on
disabled,
that
or
one, yes.
they have. They can't drive, and so that's just. Those are a couple issues also to me that seem like a big deal. So I think that's one issue, but it's not the only issue. But I appreciate the discussion and everything that everybody.
If the bridge was in, it would make a world, because I know for a fact there's several people live at the Holiday Inn and they walk under the bridge and catch the bus.
Oh, they
use it back
take
and-
the,
Yeah.
they
but they're
take the
living
tunnel.
there. But for them, it's just a straight shot.
Right.
For these guys, it'd be a mile walk that way to get to then on, so.
And they say the sidewalk's not good over there either.
not a sidewalk
on part of it still.
No, yeah, so, I don't know. I just think that I agree, RAFTA's not
I
perfect.
mean, we could beat this to death all day long, so.
I just hope that people, I feel heard, so thank you for hearing me. I think it's a priority, I think it's important for people. I
think
don't
if-
see it as a extra or a luxury thing. I see it as something that, as a town, I feel like I have a duty to help make sure that people have that need met.
And if we can get them there to ask them these questions that we all have, if they come up and say, we never intend to put a stop across the river, well, that's gonna be about the end of it, because that's, like I say, a bit where most of the problem is. If they come and say, yeah, if we can work with us, that's what I'm saying, we just need to get them here and ask them these questions.
Well, for me, I don't know if that would be the end of it, if they can't.
No,
do
but I
something
mean,
like
that's
that.
a lot of it.
But I
That's
want the
a lot of because that's where a lot of the people that were here is there, and it's gonna be more and more over there, so.
I think everything you guys are saying is stuff that needs to be said and needs to be asked. So I agree with you on all of that.
All right.
Do we want to touch briefly on the CRV EDP increase in funding?
I'm good with it.
Did anybody, I know we got most of it in the last agenda. They produced, I don't know, it was like a 150-page report. I went to the meeting where the people they hired disclosed it. It really sets a blueprint for regional economic development. And I think it's a really robust plan. I think if we're giving the EDP additional money, I'm going to try and be a more active participant in the EDP in the coming year. I also want to set up annualized objectives and goals for them. Because a blueprint in a grand scheme for 5, 10, 15, 20 years is great, but I think the EDP needs to have annual deliverables. Hey, these are the things we're going to try and do in 2026. And then at the end of the year, when Alicia comes back, or whomever replaces her if she leaves, okay, these were the 5 top-level objectives. How many did you get? I think
If
there
you didn't
need,
get those, what did you get instead, or what?
right, we need to have a way of tracking their progress. It
Yep.
goes back to the mayor's point from a short time ago, just giving them money and hoping they do the right thing isn't sufficient. We need to have some checks and balances. We're cutting them a check. We want to balance it with outcomes and say, did you get these things done? So that's what I would like to see with the increase in funding, is an increase in deliverables and specifics to us. Not just at the end of the year, but throughout the year.
Is someone on the board of their, I'm exposing my ignorance now, I don't even know. Do we have representation on their board?
Jim usually participates in the EDP board meetings. I'm going to, again, depending on my schedule, I'm going to try and be a more active participant in those in the coming year, because I do think it's critically important.
Okay, cool.
What did we give last year?
7,500?
Oh, okay.
Was in
So,
the
so it's
budget.
not
It's
Five
increasing it
thousand.
by 2,500.
5,000?
Oh, it was 5?
5,000.
Oh, I'm
We'd-
sorry.
We'd increased it to 75, and then they had asked for 10, so we're looking at matching their
Thank
their
you.
their request.
All right.
I think definitely by doing it, but then, as Derek was saying, having those, asking for some deliverables, having some accountability meetings to see what's actually being accomplished.
Right, that,
Just good
that,
conversations.
that report
Yeah,
is a
that's an excellent
20-year plan. Okay, but we need to break it up into digestible chunks. What are we going to do in year 1, year 2,
Because we
year
can't
5,
give you
year
money
8?
for 20 years to see if it's going to work or not.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, we
We need to know if it's going the right direction before then.
And how, do we need to pivot at some point because
Exactly.
of changes internally or externally?
Can we run way back to the field striping robot?
Sure.
If Nicole's still on the line, with our crappy cell phone service in town, how well is the GPS on that thing gonna work?
He said that it's connected it's satellite driven.
Okay,
And he said even if we don't have the best service, that all the communication should still be able to talk to the robot. He said that they have more remote places, that there's, especially in more dense areas where there's not room for fields. The fields are way out kind of in the middle of nowhere where they're putting these sports complexes. And he said that they're still being able to get service when there's not cell phone service out there.
okay, so it's using legitimate GPS, not
Not
cell
cellular.
phone.
Trying.
Correct. That's what he said. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'd hate us to try and paint some straight lines that are, takes off down
Yeah.
16th Street.
It just wanders
Runs
off
into
into
Jerry's
the woods.
house.
There's a line going into the woods.
The river goes and disappears.
Disappears, yeah. Okay.
Any other discussion points? Otherwise, I'll just I was going to run through the fund by fund where things stand and just kind of give a couple comments on it. The general fund shows about $1 million deficits in terms of expenditures versus revenues. The majority of that is the transfer into the capital improvement fund. To do the capital improvement fund. Conservation Trust is showing about $124,000 surplus. Both the water and the wastewater fund are showing deficits. Water about $265,000 and wastewater about $177,000. That's project related. The majority of the reduction in water fund is the 7th Street water main replacement. That's, if you recall, we received a $2,053,000 congressionally directed spending amount. We have to contribute 20% to that. That's the majority of putting the water fund into the negative, is actually doing that, excuse me, project. Wastewater, again, it has to do with the transfer into the capital fund that pushes the wastewater into the negative. Irrigation, we are doing an increase this year, and it shows a slight surplus of about $26,000. The Vale Fund would be a surplus of about $4,500. And that includes all those expenditures that were approved at the request of the police department. Beautification fund, we're basically spending all the dollars that are coming into it that will be used for projects in the capital project fund. Same with the park impact fee fund. We're utilizing those dollars for the redoing community park. The construction impact fee fund, we show a slight surplus in that of $15,000. We don't really have a lot of expenditures there. The housing authority, again, this is the negative is being driven by our project to do the remodeling of the units. The $251,000 negative would be if we can get a second grant in the spring that would allow us to complete the project. If we don't get that grant, the deficit will be roughly half of what we're showing. Economic development, we're receiving about $25,000 of sales taxes in addition. We're spending about $3,000, so there's about a $22,000 surplus there. And then the capital improvement fund, when you take into consideration all the grants that we have, the congressionally directed spending, the FMLD grants, transfers from all the various funds, the capital improvement fund shows about a $100,000 deficit in it. A lot of that will play out as we bid projects out. But that's kind of the big picture of all the various funds that the town operates. Again, I said it last year, having $1 million deficit in the general fund is not a long-term sustainable way to run a business. To use Trustee Klassen's comment about RAFTA. But so we have to keep an eye on it, but our bottom line is we still are operating with a rather significant amount of reserves that we really have not spent down. And I believe a couple of years ago, it was the direction of the Board of Trustees to spend that down to a more reasonable level. And with that, that's the summary that I had put together. Our next step after this meeting is to adopt the budget on December 8th.
Question for Joe. I think this year we had some more irrigation breaks. Are we changing, I know it's PVC and stuff, but are we replacing or checking the irrigation line as we're doing the streets? Like we open them up, are we putting new in, or we just leaving the old, or what are we doing?
No, we're replacing it.
We are
Like
replacing
on
it.
the Grand Avenue, we replaced between the two houses. And then the irrigation lines in the intersection of Kim and Grand, we replaced all them.
So what is the main line? How big is that? 4-inch?
On Grand,
Yeah.
once we get up on phase 2, it's a 4-inch, and most of that is in the shoulder.
And then when it comes down like behind my house in the alleys, I know I've got 2-inch. What is it down the alleys? That 2-inch?
4-inch.
The what?
It's 4-inch down the alleys.
Down
and
the
then there's
alleys.
1-inch taps off of it.
Then the taps off of that, okay. Now just, if we had a budget, because I know it seems like every year you're having starting to get a few more breaks from, I know it's PVC, that doesn't mean nothing, things break and fall apart, so. Just if you had it in the budget to replace, that's why I was just checking, so I'm assuming you are, so.
Yeah, and we'd like to upsize the line from Terra Pond all the way to 7th Street so we can use all the water we own. So that's in the process of.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have anything additional to talk about the budget. So it's, if the board is comfortable with the expenditure levels and the revenues that we've got programmed for next year, we'll go ahead and proceed with preparing everything for adoption on December 8th.
Okay.
Looks
Cool.
like, sounds like a plan.
Unless you can figure out a way to solve the general fund deficit.
I know how to solve the general fund deficit.
Does it
Just
involve
a
couch
solution
cushions?
that the vast majority of the people in the town of Silt are not going to appreciate.
Then let's hold off on that,
Okay,
at least through the end of this year.
well, trustee Hanrahan, you have nothing to worry about. You got reelected, so now you can.
That was not what I meant. I meant, getting assaulted in the streets, actually.
No, I mean,
You don't want to
and
wear out of costume for
we've
Halloween?
had some general conversations before about there is a revenue issue that will come up in the future. That is, it's going to take some finesse and it's going to take some work. Right now, the town of Silt is operating on a sales tax that is lower than all the other incorporated communities in Garfield County. So we're operating remarkably lean compared to our neighbors, and that generates some issues. The benefit that we have had over the last several years is there's a continued population growth, which then adds to the revenues, because right now, on average, every new resident generates about $475 worth of sales taxes. If that continues and we keep growing in terms of population, that will help stave off the need to go to the voters. But we have future initiatives that are going to be problematic in terms of our existing budget. Beginning of the year, we're going to have Wold Architects in, and they're going to provide you with the results of the facilities analysis. And you're sadly going to see some rather large numbers. And at this point, we don't have a mechanism or a way to pay for any of those improvements. And so that's part of the discussion that we'll have going on in the future.
Okay.
All right.
We're really gonna take a 20-minute break before the meeting?
I guess.
Sure.
So what are you playing?
Okay.
Unless you guys just want to keep talking about budget.
If
I'm okay
anybody,
with
if
break.
anybody wants
No.
seconds.
Yeah. 40-minute break. Where's my gavel?
I was gonna say, we can quickly just say Rafter again, or,